Biafra, superstars, media.
You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country, that's back to you, far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once this entire meeting? No, in this entire meeting, have you said thank you? You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country is in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No, you've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning. You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet.
You haven't been alone.
In this cabinet.
We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion. We gave you military equipment, and your men are brave, but they had to use our military.
What about
if you didn't have our military equipment, if you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
maybe
new.
Less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this.
Again,
I tell you,
just say thank you.
I said a lot of times
accept that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I understand, sir.
I think it's very important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the cards.
Thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying. You're running low on soldiers. Listen, you're running low on soldiers. It would be a damn good thing. And then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go, and I wanted this. Look. If you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
With guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't with me. That wasn't with me. That was with a guy named Biden, who was not a smart person. That was with Obama.
It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards.
Lord have mercy. Oh my God. God, thank you for America. My people, as goes America, goes Biafra. As goes USA, goes the USB. We told you all that Trump is the answer. A man of our time, a man that understands the time, a man that have a perfect knowledge of the time and what must be done. I repeat, he is a man who understands the time and what must be done. Fellow Biafrans, how in a day, I say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending from where you're listening to the sound of my voice. This is the Biafran Superstars Media, and I'm holding it down. I say, may God bless Biafra, and may God bless His Excellency Oyendo Mazinambe Kano. May God bless, may God bless, may God bless, may God bless His Excellency, the Prime Minister of Biafra, His Excellency ESN Ekpa Simon and Joku for the job Simon is doing. Simon, I want to say we thank you. We appreciate you. We love you, because we know in your hands Biafra has come. In your hands Biafra will be safe. And in your hands, now that Biafra has come, the people of Biafra will rejoice. When I say the people, I mean the men, the women, the children, the old, the young, the sick, the mild, the civilized and the uncivilized. Those born in Biafra and those born in the bite of Biafra. We shall all come together under one voice, under one accord, under one union, and scream for Hallelujah Day, the day that Biafra has made. Fellow Biafrans, you have heard from the number one president, a man who understands the time, the urgency of now. You've seen the way he's been frank with the Ukrainian president for him to understand that don't go around boxing in a match you know you cannot win. You need America to have any sway against Russia. Do not be deceived. If there was no America in the fold, you would have lost the war since yesterday. Fellow Biafrans, at this point, I want you to know the reason why we, the Biafrans, we have anchored our freedom and liberation in the shoulders of America, God's own country. President Donald Trump, we thank you. We, the Biafrans, we love you. We share your own sentiment. We re-echo your words of freedom. The basic knowledge and understanding that you share and you have shared with President Zelensky of Ukraine. Hence, we are calling upon you, President, to come and see the same thing is happening in our new country, our nascent country, Biafra. The country that was created by Nigeria, that one known as Britain. Britain created that country called Nigeria, and it's been a problem. It's been a thorn to the flesh of we the Christians all these years. Hence, we are calling upon you to please hurry to the aid of the Biafrans. Hurry to our aid, because the enemies have come. All we did was declare our independence from Nigeria, a shithole country, a third world country being controlled by the Islamic Caliphate and Britain. All we did was said, we the Biafrans, we are Christians. Hence, we declared our freedom. And ever since, they've brought war upon us. They've come to kill us, maim and destroy, steal our land, steal our resources, and the rest. President Trump, we are calling upon you to please hurry to the aid of the Biafrans. The killing is too much. The genocide of the Christians is too much. In the land of Biafra, there exists something unique in the whole world, that 99% of the Biafrans are Christians and the rest are traditional worshippers. Hence, we are calling upon America, God's own country, to please hurry to the aid of the Biafrans. We want your support. We want your love. We need your protection. The enemies have come in the night. They have come to kill our women, rape our women, steal our lands and the rest. Hence, we are calling upon you to hurry to the aid of the Biafrans. At this point, fellow Biafrans, I want to show you what is happening in Finland. The Finnish president, Alexander Stubb, while Trump is being firm, being assertive, letting Ukraine know the way things are, letting them know they cannot mess with Russia, because Russia must be respected as one of the strongest countries in this world. They must respect Russia. The same way we respect America, the same way they respect, to an extent, Britain, the same way they respect France and Germany. Russia must be respected. So we, the Biafrans, we are saying the whole world, especially the EU, they must respect Russia. Because if not for America, the big boy, the big brother, supporting Europe and Ukraine, by now, you and I know what will be happening in Ukraine. So I plead on the whole world to please sheath their sword when it comes to Russia, and respect them for their strength and military might. Because this war is not between Ukraine and Russia. It is Russia against the whole world. We know what is happening. And if you guys are not careful, if the EU is not careful, they might trigger the World War III. So at this point, we all know our Prime Minister, His Excellency, Mazi Ekpa Simon Njoku, was being held in Finland all these years. I want you to see what is going on in Finland, what the President, Alexander Stubb, is speaking about Ukrainian war against the Russian war. I want you to hear what he said. It beats my imagination. If a man can speak like that, if the Finnish president can speak so highly of Ukraine, talking about their freedom, their independence. He even gave a summary, a historical background about the war that took place in Finland. The 100 Days War and the so-called Winter Wars and the long-lasting war. One happened for 100 days, the Winter Wars, and the other war was 1,100 days. So if the Finnish president, Alexander Stubb, knows this history about Finland, how they fought for their independence from Russia, and he's lending the same support to Ukraine, then I wonder, how come a black Finnish citizen in the name of Simon Ekpa, a man who has no crime, no criminal records in Finland, all he is doing is saying it is time to liberate his people in Biafra land. The same freedom that Alexander Stubb is seeking for Ukraine is the same freedom Mr. Simon Ekpa Njoku is seeking for the people of Biafra. Lord have mercy. At this point, my people, I want us to listen to Alexander Stubb and hear what he's got to say about Ukraine and the Russian war. And I want you to be the judge. To the Finnish citizen out there in Finland, I want you to be the judge. If your president is speaking this way for the liberation of another country, then how come is it wrong for a Biafran who happens to be also a Finnish citizen to speak for the liberation of his own country, Biafra? In this case, your president is speaking for the liberation of another country. But in the case of the man they call Simon Ekpa, the Prime Minister of Biafra, he is speaking, and I quote, for the liberation of his own people. Without any much further ado, I want you to be the judge. Listen to Alexander Stubb, and then I'll be back. Listen.
Vladimir, given that I'm sitting here next to you, this is more of a personal address than anything else. You see, I think we in Finland understand exactly what you're going through. We have 1,340 kilometers of border with Russia. In November 1939, Russia attacked us, completely unprovoked. We fought 2 existential wars against Russia. The first one was the Winter War. It lasted only 105 days, and we were able to hold the line. The second one was the War of Continuation, which lasted pretty much 1,100 days. And that's what you've been going through right now. And essentially, for me, this war is about the existence of nationhood in Ukraine. And that nationhood is based on a triangle. And that triangle is something that we thought would be respected ever since the end of World War II. And that is independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity. Now, in World War II, Finland had to accept a peace with Stalin. And I'm sure we're going to have to accept a peace with Putin. But the peace that we accepted had only one out of the 3 statehood principles in it: independence. We were the only country bordering the Soviet Union that was able to retain our true independence. But we lost our sovereignty. You know, we couldn't decide the clubs we wanted to join. We were able to join the EU only when the Soviet Union collapsed in 1995. And we lost 10% of our territory, including the areas where my grandparents were born and where my father was born. Now, the only reason I'm saying this is that the support that you will see from the Finnish public, and I think from all around this table, is the support of identity and historical experience. Now, my big point is that there seems to be some misunderstanding about what is going on here. Russia obviously started this war. But remember that it started this acquisition of territory and spheres of interest already in 2008 by attacking Georgia. And then in 2014 by annexing the Crimean Peninsula. And then at the end of the day, we are now here to commemorate the 3rd anniversary of the beginning of the full-scale war, but the war has been going on for pretty much 11 years, ever since 2014. And a lot of people don't understand that this is not only about Ukraine, but this is also about Europe. This is also about the United States. This is also about international law. And at the end of the day, it's about the world order. So if we now allow Russia to do what it wants to do, in other words, stop the existence of a Ukrainian state, then it's not only Ukraine that has lost, it's Europe that's lost, it's the West that has lost, and also the United States that has lost. And for those who doubt about this, let me say one thing very clearly. You cannot trust Putin. You cannot make a deal with Putin, because that means basically a deal also with China. I also say that for those who doubt, the only way in which Ukraine is going to fully win this war is that we continue the support that we have given you from the beginning. And I also say that if Russia gets what it wants now, trust me, it's not going to stop with Ukraine. We know that Putin will continue because his mind is one of imperialism and spheres of interest. So self-evidently, Finland will continue to support Ukraine for as long as it takes. We're the 5th biggest donor, GDP per capita. Let me finish off, however, by saying that I think in the past 2 weeks, we've been sort of a little bit lost. A new American administration has come in, and we have heard conflicting messages. I believe that we need to take the initiative back. And by that I mean to say that there needs to be something concrete on the proposal, on the table. So let me propose today something that I've spoken with you about and with many around the table. It's not a peace plan, but it's a sketch of a process. And that process, in my mind, goes very simply in 3 phases. The first phase is before the actual ceasefire. This is the phase when we put maximum pressure on Russia, including sanctions, including using the frozen assets, and of course, including continuing the military support for Ukraine. This is also the time when I think European leaders need seriously talk about security arrangements. And of course, the lead comes from Ukraine. You have the biggest land force and most experienced land force in Europe. But there needs to be support from Europe, and the backstop needs to come from the United States. All of this needs to be settled before a ceasefire is brokered, whether that's Easter or whenever, we don't know. The second phase is the ceasefire phase. And the ceasefire basically means that there's a contact line, probably monitoring thereof, but it also means that 2 things are put into place. First is a negotiation on the actual agenda and modalities of the peace process, because there is no peace process, there is no agenda, there are no modalities. And the second one is, of course, confidence building measures, which were mentioned here a little bit earlier, exchange of prisoners, returning the kidnapped children, etc., etc. This is the second phase. Then only begins the third phase, and we're far, far, far from it. And that is the actual peace process. That's when there is conversation about territory, that's when there is conversation about reconstruction, and that's when there is conversation about unraveling the sanctions. Having said all of that, very conditional by the way, having said all of that, I think we need to make clear to the Russians and everyone else that there are a few things that are completely off the table in these negotiations. One is EU membership. It is not Russia who decides on EU membership. It is the European Union who does that. 2 is NATO. It is not Russia that decides on NATO membership. It is the alliance itself. 3 is Ukrainian defense. It is not Russia that decides on what Ukraine has by its border, when, where, and how. And 4, European security arrangements or order. It's not Russia that decides on that. We already have a European security order and should stick to it. So those are off the table. And let me just finish off, because I do think this is such an important day, and I was watching all the colleagues on Maidan Square and the rest of it. But I do think this is a day when we have to honor the fallen Ukrainian heroes. I also believe that this is a day where we have to face the fact that Putin has lost this war, in a sense that we will see a European Ukraine. We will see eventually Ukraine in NATO. We've seen a unified European Union and hopefully a stronger transatlantic alliance in the long run. And on a day like this, I think it's time to pave the way for a plan for Ukrainian victory. Slava Ukraini.
There you have it, my people. There you have it. You've heard from the President of Finland, President Alexander Stubb, advocating for Ukraine and their liberation. The same way he is speaking and advocating for the independence of Ukraine is the same way our Prime Minister, Mazi Ekpa Simon Njoku, and our Deputy Prime Minister, Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, have been speaking for the liberation of the Biafran people. As the saying goes, what is good for the goose is good for the gander. And if it is good for Ukraine to regain their independence from Russia, then it is as well good for the Biafrans to regain their independence from Nigeria. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. At this point, I wish all Biafrans and all my listeners to please listen to the words of our Deputy Prime Minister while she speaks in the case of Biafra and our liberation. The same way Alexander Stubb is speaking for the freedom of Ukraine is the same way Simon Ekpa and now our Deputy Prime Minister, Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, is advocating for the liberation of the Biafran people. Fellow Biafrans and listeners all across the world, without any much further ado, I present to you the Deputy Prime Minister of Biafra, making a case for the liberation of Biafra from Nigeria. If you are ready, please lend me your ears as you listen to the Deputy Prime Minister of Biafra, Dr. Ngozi Orabueze. Thank you.
Again, welcome Biafrans and friends of Biafrans. The reason why we're here today is to let the world, Biafrans, know what we are doing, where we are going, and some of the things that we do both openly and privately. If you have any question, any worries, things you're not clear about, this is the time to ask those questions. The ones I can take, I'll take them. The ones I cannot take, I'll let you know that I'm going to come back with the answer. That is what this session is for. First, let me let you know, we declared the United States of Biafra in Finland, November the 29th, 2024. And it was an event that was the climax of the several things that Biafrans have done over the years to redeclare Biafra. As some of you are aware, Biafra was a nation between 1967 and 1970, during the period when we fought a brutal war with Nigeria. During that war, many Biafrans, innocent children, were killed, mostly by starvation by the Nigerian state. And the way they did that is to block the food entrance of foods and other things into the Biafra territory. A couple of countries at that time played a role to help Biafrans, and those countries at this point are still supporting the independence and the sovereignty of the United States of Biafra. Biafra conducted a self-referendum, both online and at home physically, to ensure that we go through the peaceful process to remove ourselves from Nigeria. During this period, over 50 million Biafrans voted at home and abroad using different formats. That was presented when we were in Finland. Biafra has met all the criteria to be a full-fledged independent nation. We have our sovereignty cut out. We have our people that have participated in the self-referendum to exit Nigeria. Over 98% of Biafrans that participated in this voting process, they all voted for Biafra to exit Nigeria. Biafra has explored different sources of peace negotiation with Nigeria over the years. And some of that included when our leader Nnamdi Kanu called for the regional distribution of Nigeria, trying to let Biafrans to be independent and rule themselves. Nigeria rejected that. We have reached out to Nigeria to be able to let them know we want to conduct self-referendum. For over the past 10 years, Nigeria refused to do that. We also have reached out to different offices to the Nigerian state of the need for Biafra to be free. Nigeria has rejected that. Nigeria maintains that Biafra and Nigeria must be in the same place, must be one Nigeria, must be one nation, because of mostly the rich mineral resources that come from the Biafra region, which Nigeria is using to service themselves and give it to European countries that support their globalist agenda. And while our people lavish, lavish in squalor and in poverty, and not getting the basic education, the basic health care, just some of the basic things that people that produce minerals, such heavy amount of mineral resources that they're supposed to be enjoying. None of that is in Biafra land. We have no international airport in Biafra land, no seaport, no airport, no major railway line that has cut across to our region. Everything is being denied to Biafrans by the Nigeria state. Meanwhile, it is from this Biafra region that Nigeria gets most of the mineral reserves and resources they use to service European countries and some Western world. And Biafrans have come to say no more. We are not going to be the region that produces the rich oil reserves, while Nigeria state milk that and use that to siphon it to countries outside Biafra land and collect the money to continue to enhance terrorism in Nigeria. We all know the Nigerian state is one of the countries that rehabilitates and reintegrates non-terrorists into the military, police, and all their security services. Because most indigenous Nigerians have refused to join the Nigerian military and police because of the reintegration of non-terrorists into the Nigerian military. So what Nigerian state does is to reintegrate these terrorists, give them guns and ammunition, and ship them over to Biafra land to continue to kill innocent Biafrans who does not believe in one Nigeria. This killing has been going on for years, and now Biafrans have said no more of those killings. We cannot continue to stay in a country that reintegrates non-terrorists into its system, and you force us to live with terrorists. That is why Biafra declared their independence in Latin Finland on November the 29th, 2024. Nigeria state has also committed several atrocities several criminal things against Biafra people. We have a lot of Biafran people in jail in different parts of Nigeria without no recourse to legal services, without no recourse to legal help. This is a country that arrests people, dump them in prisons without any remorse, without any opportunity for those individuals to bail themselves or even have their cases heard in court. So it's like we are still living in stone age in Nigeria. Nigeria is a failed state, and that has been documented in several areas. The worst part of this is the collusion of the Nigerian government with some European countries like Finland, like Britain, like the United Kingdom to suppress and destroy psychologically, emotionally, Biafrans all over the world, tagging us terrorists just for fighting for our freedom, just for our self-determination, just for trying to express ourselves. This is what Nigerian state has continued to do, colluding with European countries to continue to destroy our people. And we say no more of that. There are several instances. Our leader Nnamdi Kanu is still held today by the Nigeria state, going to almost 5 years for nothing except the independence of Biafra. The United Nations Committee on Extraordinary Rendition has told Nigeria to leave Nnamdi Kanu and compensate him. Nigeria has refused to do that till date. About 2-3 competent courts inside Nigeria has gone through the case of our leader Nnamdi Kanu and acquitted and discharged him. Nigeria state continue to hold him till today as we speak. Why? Because they are more interested in milking our natural resources, milking the oil and giving it to their cause and the people they connive with abroad. France, Finland, England, Europe, all of that, Britain. Now, our leader, our Prime Minister Simon Ekpa, just for the same reason, nothing more. Finland invited him 2 weeks before our redeclaration in Latin Finland. And since then, Finland is holding our Prime Minister Simon Ekpa. For the same reason, Nigeria is holding Nnamdi Kanu. So this is a calculated systemic plan by European countries to continue to subjugate Biafrans, to kill Biafrans, and continue at the same time to milk our natural resources to develop their countries. That cannot continue anymore. You cannot continue to kill and destroy countries, destroy Biafra by holding their leaders and instigating the reintegrated terrorists to come to our land to kill our people. There are several reports of human rights abuses by Nigeria state. That has been documented both by the United Nations, by African nations, the Organization of Emerging States in Africa. All these are well documented. Nigeria is forcefully removing all our male youths in Biafra land by killing them, taking them away, locking them up. Currently, as we speak, President Tinubu has his armored tanks inside the peaceful communities of Biafra land, attacking our people, hunting down our people for nothing. The same reason Finland is holding our Prime Minister. It is so easy for these European countries and the zoo country of Nigeria to label us terrorists. Why do they label us terrorists? They label us terrorists just because we want our freedom, nothing more. We want to make Biafra the nation, just like every other developing nation, We have better options. We have better services for our people, unlike what Nigerian offers. That is the crime of Biafrans, nothing more, nothing less. So anywhere Nigeria and Europeans, they see Biafrans, they try to tag them or label them terrorists. Recently, we have 4 innocent Biafrans that were arrested by our Prime Minister Simon Ekpa in Finland for nothing except just helping for the restoration of the independent state of Biafra. Finland, through their president and staff, arrested these innocent Biafrans, locked them up for days, for months. And our Prime Minister today is still locked up in Finland for nothing. Even when those innocent Biafrans, 4 of them were left out, Finland still is suffering those Biafrans till today. Most of them cannot access their bank account. Most of them, their businesses have been destroyed by Finland. Most of them, they cannot even get any basic services they need to sustain their families. And Finland has continued to suffer these innocent Biafrans, including our Prime Minister Simon Ekpa. Just the same way Britain, using Nigeria, have continued to suffer our leader Nnamdi Kanu. This is what we as a people are going through, and we say no more of that. We are going to use everything within our means, legally possible, to protect ourselves. Self-defense is not a crime. Between December and now, when Finland took away our Prime Minister, Nigeria state has murdered over 500 innocent Biafrans for nothing. These are people sleeping in their homes. These are people just walking around in front of their homes. Nigerian state, using the southeast and south-south delegitimized governors, so Uzadima, Peter Soludo, they set up these criminal gangs. They call their agents, security agents, mostly reintegrated terrorists, and they use that to suppress and kill innocent Biafrans that are fighting for their freedom. This is what we are going through. You have a country in Nigeria where you have 2 laws. They use Sharia in the north, and they use the secular law in the south. One country. Innocent Christians that are born to Christian families in the north are made to use and go through and obey the Sharia law. Christians are murdered in Nigeria, buried, mass graves. Nobody is doing anything about that. All of you remember the story of Deborah, the innocent Christian that was murdered in the north. Nothing has been brought against those people that killed this individual. And so many other thousands of Christians have been murdered in Nigeria. And nobody is saying anything about it. Then when we rise up, when we say we want our nation, we do not want to continue to live in a country where non-terrorists are reintegrated and rehabilitated. Nigeria state connived with their British counterpart, the globalist counterparts, to arrest innocent Biafrans and put them away, thinking that is going to stop our quest for our freedom. Some of the examples, we have the Finnish president talking about book promotion utterances. We hear Alex Stubb, you're talking about promotion of your book that you wrote going around. That is a big joke. Alex Stubb, how can you be talking about promoting a book about freedom? Meanwhile, you lock up our Prime Minister Simon Ekpa, who is the head of a state. You lock him up in Finland. And you're going around making a jest of yourself, promoting a book you wrote. You should be ashamed of yourself to be promoting a book about freedom, and you lock up our Prime Minister Simon Ekpa in Finnish jail. Or you just put him away. Let me use that word. and you're doing an investigation since November till now. You've not indicted this individual of any crime, and you're still investigating. And you're going about promoting your nonsense book you wrote. And you think we don't know what you're doing. We know the European Empire, led by the Britain, crumbled years back. But all they are doing is to hang on to the Nigerian state that supplies them crude oil, which they use to survive. And they can kill anyone. They can go to any length to destroy Biafrans, to continue to milk their natural resources. Not anymore. France is now part of that circle, the globalists. We know the globalist agenda. France is now heading Nigeria. That is why Nigeria was so scared of the coming of Donald Trump. Nigeria did everything possible to ensure that the President of America, Donald Trump, never came to power. They used people like Ngozi Orabueze to write all the nonsense about world trade and all that. That is the plan. Nigeria worked against the coming of President Trump. It's a public domain. Because they know America promotes and supports the independence of people. America protects Christians. America protects the freedom of speech. Unlike what Finland is doing and what Europe is doing and what the Nigerian state is doing. Currently, Finland is holding the head of a state, the head of United States of Biafra. Finland knows very well that when they remove Simon Ekpa, Nigeria terrorist state will increase their activities of killing of innocent Biafrans. That is exactly what is going on. Finland planned with Nigeria and removed Simon Ekpa. And Nigeria increased their killing of innocent Biafrans. So what is the plan there, Finland? What is your plan with Nigeria? So you remove Simon Ekpa, one, to stop the restoration of the independence of Biafra. Secondly, to aid Nigerian state, the states that rehabilitate and reintegrate non-terrorists. You aided them in the killing of innocent Biafrans as we speak right now. That is what you are doing. That is also what Britain is doing. So the time for crying is over. We are not going to beg anybody anymore. Our leader Nnamdi Kanu has talked enough. Our Prime Minister Simon Ekpa has talked enough. I believe Finland, there is no document about the restoration of Biafra that you do not have on your table. That Prime Minister Simon Ekpa submitted both to the government of Finland and to all the necessary authorities. You have that information. But you wanted more of the bilateral relation between Nigeria and Finland. You prefer that to the human rights of Biafrans. You prefer that to the survival and to innocent lives that are killed by a Nigerian terrorist state. You take preference to the oil that Tinubu is going to give you, Finland and France. We are fully aware of that. I'm using this opportunity to tell any country in the world that is planning or negotiating any business with Nigeria in the form of oil or mineral resources. We are calling on you to cancel that contract right now because it's never ever going to flourish. Biafra is now a sovereign nation. We've declared our independence and we are going to protect our territorial integrity. I also want to use this opportunity to tell Biafrans, especially those of you that are opportune to have the liberty to serve as press people, or you have people that listen to you. You work in the media. I want to use this opportunity to tell you to stop the misinformation that you are spreading to Biafrans. There's so much misinformation that are being spread by these individuals who have the opportunity to create Biafrans that listen to them, both in local language and English language. You need to stop. You cannot continue to misinform Biafrans, misinform the world when you don't have the facts. You are doing more damage to the government. And some of the information we are going to relate to the world today to know some of these individuals that go about lying to Biafrans, trying to throw some Biafrans into depression for nothing, just coming on air to just call innocent Biafrans names, just to gain cheap popularity. We are going to play some of that today. I also want to use this opportunity to let everyone listening to me to know there is only one country, the United States of Biafra, with one leadership. That leadership is our leader, Nnamdi Kanu, our Prime Minister, Simon Ekpa, and my humble self, Dr. Orabueze. Only one line of leadership. Anyone, anybody out there pretending to be anything else, please ignore them. They do not exist. These are criminals planted by the Nigerian state to continue to destabilize what we do.
Yeah, Biafra, Biafra. Yeah, Superstar Media. Tell me about Biafra. We going back to the motherland. Tell me about Biafra. I wanna know. Tell me about Biafra. We going back to the motherland. Tell me about Biafra, Biafra. I wanna know. We going back to the land. We going back to the motherland. Biafra, Biafra. Tell me about Biafra. We going back to the land. Tell me about Biafra. We going back to the motherland. Tell me about Biafra, Biafra. Tell me about Biafra. We going back to the land.